Oxygen levels.
Oxygen levels are at max.
Set a course to dark waters 9. Trapped Demon, the Imperial Treasury of Venia, attested that this was a real demon which had been trapped in glass during an exorcism in the 17th century in Germany. I mean, it kind of does look like a little man inside this quartz crystal, if you will. How did they trap it is the question.
Much like the ether nights that I've shown to you in previous videos, the old world had many ways of utilizing the electricity from the ether above. They have been doing it for some time, providing free energy. But it wasn't just swords they were able to charge with it. The fasces and the Vajra, said to be nothing more than symbols. The Vajra referred to as the thunderbolt of Indra, and being shown in many depictions, used as a weapon with an electric charge. Fun fact, when you look at the ends of the Vajra, it resembles the ends of the bells found in the old world as well. And the fasces, they say, is nothing more than a bundle of sticks with an axe in the middle of it, a symbol of power founded by the Romans. Yet again though, we see it being wielded as a powerful weapon, almost as a projectile, and the parasites today still use it as a symbol of power and control. In between the pillars of freedom, their true pillars and colors show. I believe, like many icons of the old world, the parasites have perversed and manipulated and twisted the true meaning of these devices. But let me know what you think in the comments. Are they just symbols or powerful tools or weapons? Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Most certainly aren't telling us everything about the Vajra, this ancient technique that they use to harness energy, and possibly people theorize that they may use it for weapons. It's absolutely so interesting. It makes you think. Look at all these illustrations. Were they just holding it because it looked cool, or were they actually doing something? I don't know if those are two lions he has on each side that he's using this Vajra to. I have no idea what's going on here. But I believe these ancient pictures tell a tale of something that may lead us to the truth. So I do my best to try to dissect them. He has a weird looking instrument contraption on his right. Two lions guarding him by each side. Very interesting.
Oh, we got your ass. We've got your ass now. So this is why you took away all the bells. You thought we weren't gonna find out. Reptilian. I'm a slew of reptilian. How many have I slewed? More than 1 million. You see, the giant bells could not only emit healing frequencies, but could also produce specific vibrations that would repel demonic beings and counter the shape-shifting abilities of the reptilians. Oh, you son of a bitch. So you see, there is power in sound. There is power in frequency and vibration. This is why they don't want you to know anything. This is why they don't want you to play instruments. So I want everybody to put this on their to-do list. I want you to go out there and search for as many bells as you can find. And if you can't find any bells, I want you to find out how to make them and who's making them. Bully Slayers assemble. Bully slaying business. Join me on the front line.
From 1788 to 1820, Australia was said to be a simple outpost for prisoners, and we're told even before that, before the colonizers arrived. From 1788 to 1820, Australia was said to be a simple outpost for prisoners, and we're told even before that, before the colonizers arrived, it was hunter and gatherers, just like in America. No real infrastructure was yet put in place. And also, just like in America, these convicts were some artsy MFers. Between 1788 and 1868, over 165,000 convicts were shipped to Australia. and they're credited with building everything: roads, bridges, ports, and public buildings. Even in Western Australia, these prisoners are said to have built the prisons that they'd spend the rest of their lives in. And from 1855 to 1859, these bad boys are said to have built Great Hall at the University of Sydney. Now, mind you, this is just 70 years after colonization, when there was supposedly nothing here. And a place that looks like that and is named like that has to have a huge pipe organ, right? But that was supposedly added later in the 1880s. And you know, if a freshly built city has a university that looks like that with a ginormous pipe organ, you already know post office is gonna look like this. This post office was said to have been built from 1866 to 1891. Not from convict labor though. These were hired hands supposedly, but convict labor did quarry the stone. It's said that the sculptor that carved these faces onto the post office was criticized for doing it. But we should all know by now that that's just a silly little story to hide the fact that there wasn't a sculptor. And these are the people that probably built this, or their gods. And of course, it wasn't just Sydney. This is Brisbane's town hall, built in 1 year, 1891 to 1892, right when an economic crash was going on. And before Brisbane's town hall was erected, their custom house was in 1886 to 1889. And we can't forget about Brisbane's Treasury building, which is said to have been built in between 1886 and 1928. Yeah, just in different stages. It was possible. And I can't make this video without talking about Melbourne's World's Fair, right? This is the Royal Exhibition Building. It covered 64 acres, and it was done in 18 months. And this 1880 Royal Exhibition Building was not like the other ones. This was built to last. This was not temporary. It still stands there today. But looking at it, you know it's just one of those buildings that they walked up to and they go, okay, what's the narrative for this one? We're not going to be able to tear this bad boy down. And even Brisbane's exhibition building was built to last. Not temporary, still there today. It was built in 12 months with only 300 workers, supposedly. There was 1.3 million bricks used. Magnificent and very Moorish. Again, I mean, can you imagine walking up to these and go, just like, what are we going to do? What's the plan here? I mean, the project manager for all these lies had to have been pulling his hair out. Had to have been. He died early, for sure. All right, Paul, go put your horse and buggy in front of it. We're going to take a picture of it and say we just built it, okay? Oh, and by the way, the steeple on Sydney's post office, yeah, it was cut off because of World War II air raids.
This is the post office? This is absolutely insane. I believe in Chicago they tried to say something similar, like an extraordinary building used for a post office. I mean, come on. What is the real reason, though, is what's on my mind. What was the real reason? Why did they build this extraordinary building?
They were scared, so they cut it off, and then they built it back up. Weird how that happens so much, right? And another unbelievable part about Sydney is that there are tunnels everywhere. I mean, everywhere. They just go left, right, up, down. And here you have the butthole of Sydney right there. Told you. The same stories, the same megalithic architecture. Impossible to do at that time. We must have been much, much more than we were led to believe, right? Let's try to get back there. Love y'all, and have a good day.
Huge shout out to Luminary Lighthouse for that deep dive on Australia. Who knew? I didn't even know they had a World Fair going on in Australia. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen today, think again. All right, gang, feast your eyes on this lovely tourmaline specimen. Drop your thoughts on what you would call this. If I had to name this, I would call this the Force Lightsaber Duel. Force Lightsaber Duel. If I had to name this specimen, what would you call this one? It's truly exquisite, to say the least. The different grape clusters popping off, the green apple crystals deep within. You just get lost.
By the way, whenever you're on the internet, you're accessing the materialization of the etheric realm. Quite literally. There are spaces, there are etheric domains on the internet that have frequency fences. You can't access certain places, certain profiles, unless you meet the frequency requirement. This is real stuff. This is real etheric stuff that's materializing and has been here. It's just that we have the clarity to see it now. Everywhere you go energetically online on the internet, you're energetically reaching out through the etheric domain. Every single person that you follow has an energetic link to you, is in your mind, has an access point to your mind. Everything on your phone is in your aura. Your phone is a device that enables you to connect to the etheric realm materialized. Like you realize what we're doing, right? We're collapsing the dimensions into this one Middle Earth. This is how it works. Like, this phone is the result of an advancement of consciousness. It's the result of an evolution. It's the result of the quickening and accelerating of speed, of unification between things, connection, communication. That's what consciousness does as it evolves. It's the result of polarity connecting, right? Of extremes being connected together. Because consciousness, what it does is it fractalizes outwards, right? Into all extremes, into all polarities, and then it reconnects itself and reorganizes itself back together like mycelium. It's all connected and communicating with itself, right? And that creates advancement because there's more awareness of more things. So every single person you follow and every single place you go online, you're interacting with an etheric place. You're interacting with the ether itself. So you need to be careful on what's in your phone, who you're following. Just go through your phone. You'll notice there are certain gates that when you have this knowledge in mind, there are certain gates that allow energies into your energy, allow energies access to your mind. It's like you don't abuse your physical gates, do you? You don't look at certain things that you wouldn't want in your mind. Your phone is a direct connection to your physical gates. And so it is quite literally an extension of your aura. It is your aura. Everything on your phone is in your aura. I've talked about this previously, but all your photos, they're energetic stamps. Every single app, it's an energy contained in your aura. I mean, you can get to the point where you can download books and you'll get them coming through automatically because it's in your aura. And we're collapsing.
Damn, just like the Matrix when they jacked in the back of people's neck and they were downloading information. That was the first thing that came to mind.
The need to label things. If everything's the same thing and you're locally connecting to something energetically that exists in one form of information on a device that in itself is just energy that's connected to an immediate version of your energy, then by dissolving the perception of that, you allow yourself access to what's already on the book through your aura, through an automatic integration through the subconscious mind. You see what we're doing here? Like, we're upgrading, man. We're upgrading. We've been upgrading. We're just getting the clarity on the fact of what we're doing.
I need an upgrade, I ain't gonna lie.
Is collapsing dimensions into the Middle Earth. Be wary of where you're going online. And create your own etheric server. Create your own etheric server. You can design your own etheric domain. You can design it. Literally, you can design it. You can design what kinds of people you want in. You can set frequency perimeters. You can have your own space. Like seriously. By the way, whenever you
Manifesting in the etheric domain.
We are energy. We are materializing things with our mind. This density called the third dimension is being created in what could equate to nanoseconds. It's so fast that the brain cannot even conceive of the conception of manifestation. But the minute we look at something, we're creating it. The minute we think of something, we're creating it. We are infinite creators, and we go on forever. And if we would create good and wonderful things, be productive in what we think about, what we feel, what we know, and look at things with compassion and love instead of fears and doubts and ideas of profit margins, we could have the realization that we have never left heaven, that it's always been here.
I don't know about it being comparable to heaven, but it definitely would be a lot better off.
This experiment is absolutely wild and may confirm that we're living in a simulation. It was performed by Thomas Young and it's called the double slit experiment. So basically, if you fire particles at a screen through a split, it will make this clumping pattern, okay? What if you add a second slit? You fire the particles, it makes two clumping patterns. Everybody with me? So if you perform this with a wave, this is what you would expect to see. The density would be in the middle and it would disperse outwards, but it would look similar to the clumping pattern with the most density being in the middle. So now let's do it with the two slits. When you do two slits, as the waves pass, they create their own waves, and the waves interfere with each other at different points. This is called an interference pattern, okay? Particles clump together, waves make an interference pattern. So now let's do it with electrons. As you fire it through, you'll see a similar clumping pattern. So as scientists performed it with two slits, they expected to see two clumping patterns, but they didn't. What they saw was this, the interference pattern. For years, the scientists thought, well, maybe these electrons would collide with each other and that's what causes this interference pattern. So in the 60s, they modified the experiment where they would only shoot one electron at a time and it still made the interference pattern. So they wanted to see what was causing this, and so they made an observer. They wanted to record what was happening, and here's what's crazy. With the observer there, the electrons would make two clumping patterns. They would behave the way that they were supposed to. Without the observer, the interference pattern.
But that's a different result to what we had earlier. So here's the last bit of sneakiness that we can play with atoms. Surely now, we're going to get to grips with it. Leave the detector there, but just very quietly go and unplug it. Don't let the atoms know that you're not spying on them. Run the experiment again.
They run it again with the observer unplugged, and it's the same interference pattern. Depending on whether the particles were being observed or not, impacted the way that they would act. Like, how would a particle be aware of this? So the experiment was updated to the delayed choice experiment. They would fire a photon, there would be no observer until the photon goes through the slits, then the observer would turn on. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. Once the observer was turned on, the photon would act like it had been observed the entire time. It would go back to doing a clumping pattern, switching from wave to particle.
Experiment showed is that even though the electrons started as waves but behaved like particles after being observed, at the moment the decision to observe them was made, the electrons recorded themselves as having passed through the slits as particles. The electrons changed their state by going back in time.
Do you understand what that is saying? They changed their state by going back in time. The scientific definition of that, by the way, is called retrocausality. So if photons from a star came to Earth, let's say that star is 100 million years away, those photons went through a double slit, they would make the wave interference pattern, unless they were being observed. If it was observed, it would make the clumping pattern. Even though for 100 million years it existed as a wave pattern, once you observed it, it, through retrocausality, goes 100 million years in the past and acts like a particle. This is similar to how rendering works in a video game. A video game engine only renders what you perceive. It's not going to render all of the detail inside of this building until you are there inside the building. It is constantly rendering things as your perception changes. The reason why it does this is so it can save on compute power, but you have the illusion of a complete and total map. The double slit experiment suggests that the same thing may be happening with us. Things only get rendered if you're observing them. So everybody's heard the saying, if a tree falls in the woods but no one's around to hear it, did it make a sound? Well, according to the double slit experiment, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to observe it, does it even exist? Did it even do anything? Pretty trippy, right?
Nothing actually manifests until we focused on that point, is what I'm getting.
So if you want to learn how light works, here you go. This is a protein. UV light hits it. That is a light antenna. It's surrounded by water. Light is an electromagnetic wave that changes to an electromechanical wave. That's called sound. That sound is collected in water. Now, here's the interesting thing. Water is a magnetic dipole. What does that mean? Hydrogen and oxygens, positive and negative. That's the reason why it's tied to magnetism. The first time that we found out that magnetism truly controls sound, Ohio State University Acoustic Phonons 2014. You can look it up. When the light hits here, it's absorbed in the water. That changes the hydrogen bonding networks. What is the physical change? The physical change is the density of the water. That is how this works. fundamentally quantum mechanically. Now, here's the interesting thing. Mitochondria makes the cytosolic water that surrounds all the things in the cytosol, including the nucleus and mitochondria. Where is this connection? Well, for those of you who don't know, the Schumann resonance comes from the interaction of sunlight on the ionosphere of the Earth. That's why people call it the heartbeat of Earth. But it's an electrical tension that develops between the solar plasma and the atmosphere that generates the 7.83 hertz. Why do you need to know about it? What I tell you my day job was, I'm a neurosurgeon, right? The alpha wave in the human brain is 7.83 hertz, exactly the same. So guess what? The solar system entrains you to these solar systems as it comes to Earth. That's how it works. Okay. Why is it important? It generates the alpha wave. So when you live in an environment today, you don't have as many alpha waves. Why? Because non-native EMF, what's the number one effect, which you'll learn about later, dehydrates your cells because it lowers your redox potential in your mitochondria. In other words, original slide, you can't make as much water from your own mitochondria. That's where the dehydration comes. And for the ladies in the room or the guys in the room who are not big science people, simple biohack at home, take a piece of steak that you have left over, throw it in the microwave, taste it. What does it taste like? Shoe leather. Why? What do microwaves do? They vibrate and rotate water really fast. It heats up and it dehydrates the meat. It's happening to you right now here in Vermont. It's happening to all of us because of these shitty lights that we have. Getting back to the topic, the eye, the SCN is the big focus. In medicine, the big focus is on the camera. That's why all these old people go see the ophthalmologist, and what do they get? Cataract surgery, right? Anybody know what they put in for cataract surgery after it's done? An implantable lens. And guess what that lens blocks? UVA, UVB, 100%, and also these days, 50% of blue light, in case you didn't know that. That's been a change since 2009. What people don't realize, 42% of sunlight that falls to Earth is infrared A light. It's balanced all the time by blue, okay? Especially when the sun rises. Now, this is a side picture of an eyeball. What you need to know, and this goes back to physics, in case you don't, blue light bends the most by gravitational lensing. It turns out this is important in the eye because when blue light comes through, it falls in front of the retina. That's the reason why when you use a computer screen or you use these horrible lights up here, you get visual obscuration. In other words, your vision gets worse. What does that cause? It causes you elongation of your eyeball. When your eyeball gets longer, you get myopia. What happens when you get myopia? The next step is you get retinal detachments. What's the end result? Acute macular degeneration. Anybody know anybody who's got that? Yeah, lots of people. And guess what else? Guess what causes cataracts? Blue light toxicity. Why? The brain is trying to protect itself from this light that's coming in, so it makes the lens hazy, so this doesn't happen. But why is it important to a mitochondriac? Well, it turns out in about 2003, 2004, through 2009, we had some really cool researchers that found out there's another opsin in the eye. And that opsin works with the retinal ganglion cells, and that's called melanopsin. Melanopsin is the hormone that runs the central retinal pathways in the eye. And it turns out they're really important at nighttime, and they link to melatonin, but not in the way most people think. The fovea is where the rest of the visual light spectrum fall, and it falls right here. Why? That's acute vision. That's your camera focus. That's what the ophthalmologists all pay attention to. They don't pay attention to this. The only ophthalmologists that do, you're going to hear about later, are the Japanese guys, who are the guys that I talked to 3 months ago. They've been on this way quicker than our American counterparts. But here's the key. I'm going to make a very controversial statement now for many people in this room. Central retinal pathway energizes everything distal to it. So let me explain that to you. It basically turns on your pituitary gland, and it turns on everything distal in the human brain. And I'm going to show you how. This paper, or I should say this gentleman, his name is Fritz Hollwich. He was an amazing cat. He was an ophthalmologist in Germany. He was born in the 1920s. He happened to live in a time where we didn't have intraocular lenses. And one of the things that he noticed is that when he saw people with cataracts, he would cut the cataract out so they could see. And for those of you who don't know, this is what happened to Vincent van Gogh. You know, when he painted haystacks, the reason why he painted them in all different colors is because when you take a cataract out and you don't put a lens in, you can see UV. In case you didn't know that. So that's the reason why haystacks has all the different shades, because he was able to see it in so many different colors as the light changed. Well, it turns out this doctor actually practiced medicine in a time that we could never recapitulate now. That's why sometimes looking back is a good thing.
For entertainment purposes only, do your own research on everything. These are just theories, not facts. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop Monday vibes in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. I just want to say thank you. I love you guys. And this was the most mysterious TikToks on the internet today. See you later.